Rick, it's Wednesday. I'm sorry I couldn't make it Tuesday.
It's okay. It was like Tuesday to me.
I know, exactly. Well, we've had kind of a weird start to the week. It was
Mhm.
around here, it was Easter, so then people would typically be on spring break, but like our son had spring break, I felt like months ago. It was right after Christmas.
Mhm.
So not everybody's on the same schedule around here. But
Yeah.
then, we'd really gotten a weird message about that homebuyer shared equity homebuyer program.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden it was like if you didn't use if you didn't get locked in by Monday, you're going to lose your money. And then it turns out they lost their money last week, but I had open houses all weekend. They were crazy.
Mhm.
What in the hell is going on with these first time home buyer programs? And what can we do to not have this disappointment in the future?
Yeah. It's a great topic right now. So for the first time in many, many years, the state of California is coming out with some really relevant and really good first-time buyer. We call them down payment assistance programs, DPA programs. And they're really, really good. So on this program, there was just covered at 20% of the down payment. The state thought they could help about 2,300 families. And that was
Mhm,
an allocate about it was actually $300 million. That's a lot of
mhm,
money.
mhm,
So you would think $300 million would take maybe a couple months, 3 months to go through
mhm,
300 million, 2,300 families. And as it turned out, it took 10 days,
mhm,
10 days. And so let's talk about how that happened and then
mhm,
how we can avoid that in the future, because the state will come out with some new programs. We don't know when they will come out, and we don't know what they're going to be. But
mhm,
when they come out with the special programs, the important thing though, Megan, is the home buyers have got to be ready to act on the spot. It's not one of those things, but let me think about it for a month or two and get back to you. It
mhm,
just won't happen. So, but with the first time buyer products, DPA programs, the key component is to get the home buyer education completed.
mhm,
Now, that home buyer education, once they complete it, is good for a full year.
mhm,
So if they missed out on this last opportunity and they complete the education, they have really 12 more months for the next opportunity. We don't know when that will be, but what happened though, there was a different program last year, which I thought was really cool as well. It was a 10% down, but it was a grant. So it was a 10%, not an equity share. And if you stayed in the home for 5 years, that the 10% down was forgiven.
mhm,
So there's a lot of buyers for that program as well, and a lot of those buyers missed out.
mhm,
But what they did have is they had their classes taken care of. Their education was already completed. So
mhm.
when this program came available, they knew what was going to happen. They jumped on it right away, and they started
Yeah.
making offers, getting offers accepted. So the message here is that if you need to really take advantage of those programs, be really, really prepared.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is get that home buyer education completed, regardless.
Right.
So even if you missed out, still complete the education.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, because it I can't believe how fast it went, or can I not? I
Nobody,
mean,
yeah, no one saw it coming.
yeah, just get
Yeah.
prepared. And you know what? Here's another thing I want to say.
Hmm.
Is that if you qualified for the home equity share program and you didn't get it, and you're thinking, woe is me, but you still actually qualify for a house, then don't delay. Don't wait
Right.
for, I mean, this is really like,
Mhm.
I don't want to get into the whole thing, but you could be 100% owner of your own house and not wait for the state, aka the government, to be a 20% owner to your house. Go ahead and
Hmm.
be your own
Hmm.
100% owner and buy a house. Don't
Hmm.
wait for the next program. If you qualified,
Yeah.
then make the move, because time
Hmm.
is not in your favor here. Even,
Correct.
I mean, the market, the interest rates doubled and the market is still chugging along here.
Hmm.
And the bottom line is that if you looked at something, 2 to 3 years ago, right, as COVID was going down and you still didn't buy anything, it's like 20% more now. So it's
Hmm.
like, just if you can
Yeah.
afford something, Just get into it. It might not be your dream
Mhm.
home at first. You can get the buyer education, get yourself prepared for the future in case something happens again, but don't
Mhm.
hold your
Right.
breath because you don't know
Yeah.
what the
Mhm.
parameters are going to be for these loans. Like this one was totally loosey goosey. Like I
Mhm.
think the 10%, if I remember correctly about the 10% one, the income was pretty low. So I don't think it was anybody
Mhm.
really around here that was able to take
Right.
care of, to take advantage of
Yeah.
that program.
Well, that's a good point too, because if you can buy a house now and not rely on the DPA programs, buy the house. Buy the
Mm-hmm.
house. That's the best advice you can give, because we
Mm-hmm.
don't know when the next program will come out, what the guidelines will be. We have no idea. And it's like a roll of the dice. And to your
Mm-hmm.
point, some of those programs have very low income requirements. And most people in Orange County make too much income to
Right.
qualify for the product. So the message is very clear. If we can get you into a home now, don't wait for another program to come out. Get the house now.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something else too.
Mhm.
My observations are from 25 years being in the business that when people aren't spending their own money, they spend a lot of money. And what I mean by that is that if a program comes out and it's as liberal as this program, that I feel like, in my opinion, that could also drive the prices up of the homes even more because people are just throwing money to lock it down.
Right.
And now homes are even less affordable. That's like an
Mhm.
unintended consequence. And I
You're
saw
right.
it this weekend. I had
Mhm.
somebody write an offer for a house that they were hoping to lock it down so they could do the thing on Monday. And they're just like, what do we have to do to do this? Because we need this signed by Monday. And they just threw 45 grand at it, just like
Oh,
that. So
yikes.
um, so yeah, I mean, this is unintended consequences. That's why, the time to do things, if you can afford them, is now. Don't wait. That's my advice
Well,
for
that's the best
home
advice.
buyers. Yeah.
Best advice ever right there.
All right, Rick, what else is going on? How are the rates doing this week now that it's Wednesday? Anything different?
No, rates are kind of in a tight pattern right now. There's not a lot of volatility. There's some days there's some volatility, but not huge volatility. I think rates overall are pretty tight range. I've seen rates over the past, say, 3 weeks go from like 5.99 to about 6.5, 6.75, maybe. But generally speaking, right around 6%, give or take a tiny bit.
That's good.
Um, and that's
Yeah,
still a pretty good rate. I mean, don't forget, in the fall time here, we were like 7.25.
right.
So around 6% seems manageable. And frankly, I think that's where the market's going to settle for a little
I
while here,
agree. I think
and just
6%
used
is
to it.
a six to 6.5. I think things will be moving along pretty good. So
And if you look at it historically, by the way, the 6.5 historically is a very, very good
great
rate.
rate.
In fact,
Yeah.
we should talk about, I've got some graphs for next week we can talk about and show the graphs. We can do it like a 20 or 30-year history of the market in terms of housing sales and interest rates. And you can see where those graphs are. And
Mhm.
frankly, where we are now in rates is really, really good historically.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like those, but I always kind of, you know, put my eyebrows up a little bit because people say things like, when I bought, it was 13%. It's like, okay,
Right.
Harry and Marge, when you bought, your house cost $75,000. Okay. So these kids are dealing with a little bit different
Mhm.
situation than in 1986. Okay, everybody. I don't want to hear it
Well,
again.
yeah, I can tell you, I was doing loans in Anaheim in 1981.
Uh,
It seems like forever, but rates for some,
1981. Geez,
yeah,
Rick.
I know
I
I'm old,
forget.
huh? My
I
kids think I'm
forget
older
how
than
long you've
dirt.
been
We just
doing
don't talk
this.
about it.
Jeez
But
Louise.
I recall
I
doing
was in kindergarten
transactions.
in 1981.
I know, right? Most of our buyers weren't even born when I got in the
I
business,
know
right?
exactly.
So, but I recall doing deals in Anaheim in those days for around 90,000, 95,000.
Yeah,
But by the way, rates were 17 and a half.
exactly what I'm saying. It's
Hello,
all relative,
right?
folks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thanks for your time and expertise again today, and we will see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. See ya.
Thanks.